It's safe to say Nebraska is banged up. The Huskers are dealing with multiple injuries they've suffered over these past couple weeks, over these past couple months. So in today's video, I'm going to give you a big time update. Every single player who's banged up, who's expected to miss the Penn State game, the Iowa game, a couple big time freshmen who are returning very soon, a stash check around Dasan, Elijah Pritchett, and everything else you need to know, along with my official Michigan Wolverine rant, why I am fed up with that team, their performance from earlier today, why they are hurting Nebraska football. We'll talk about it. A huge development that was just released a couple minutes ago around the Emmett Johnson All Big Ten campaign. We'll react to that. A couple recruiting nuggets, my reaction to the Lane Kiffin rumors, Millard South versus Westside yesterday, their implications toward Nebraska, the Dayton Raiola speculation, and then I'll wrap up the video with my reaction to every single 11 o'clock game from today. So real quick, this is a loaded update. Hey, if you're having a good Saturday, I know why I'm. Hit that like button. And also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for daily content talking Huskers? It's no brainer. Takes 2 seconds. Join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, we have a lot to talk about. Let's get things started with all the injury updates because that's what the bye week is about. It's not only about, preparing for Penn State ahead of time, having 2 weeks to get ready for the ball game, but it's also about resting up and getting ready not only for Penn State, but for Iowa, but for the bowl game as well. So we're dealing with a lot of injuries. Some are major, some are minor. Let's get things going with Dasan because that was the big storyline ahead of UCLA. It sounded like he had a great week of practice. He's been available all year long, has not missed any time, which that's for the first time in his entire career. He got banged up at both Oklahoma and Indiana, and unfortunately, right before the game, he was scratched out for one of 2 injuries. One, he's dealing with a stinger injury, which of course happened basically the day before the game, 2 days before the game, which is a neck injury. You don't want to mess with that, given the fact that that can get worse very quickly, and also that part of the body. Again, you do not want to mess with the neck. If there's any part of the body you don't want to mess with, it's a stinger. It's with the neck. So Dasan, he's dealing with that. He's also dealing with a very minor hand injury. And they said, you know what, Dasan, you maybe could play versus the Bruins, but we feel very confident about our pass rush anyways. And also, this is the best for your career. We don't want you to potentially re-aggravate it, make it worse, and then have you miss time versus Penn State or versus Iowa. So the bad news around a stinger is that it's a lingering injury. Okay, you can miss 3-4 weeks with a stinger alone. Again, the neck, you do not want to mess with that part of the body. However, if we were to play this Saturday, let's say we were going to play Michigan State this Saturday. Let's say we're going to play Michigan. Dasan would probably miss that ball game. However, having a bye week, having him miss UCLA, it puts us in a good position to have him back versus Penn State. So Dasan, I do expect him to play versus the Nittany Lions. Again, it was purely precautionary, the reason why he didn't play versus the Bruins, but he should be ready to go versus Penn State, which again, we need him back in this defense. We need all hands on deck, especially from a pass rush standpoint, because really, you saw we had no pass rush versus UCLA because we only had Williams and Neri out there. These are the only 2 guys who can rush the passer at a constant level. And Dasan will be back versus the Nittany Lions. So some good news there. Then getting to Elijah Pritchett, again, he's dealt with an ankle injury pretty much all season long. It's gotten worse over these past couple weeks. Of course, he suited up versus UCLA, but he missed a couple bits of time. Earlier in the year, he was expected to miss the Maryland game, but he ended up playing last second. So Elijah Pritchett, they've been taping up that ankle pretty heavily. Again, he had his best game of the season versus UCLA, however, so again, he'll roll going into Penn State, going into Iowa, which is something I would be a little bit concerned about because, again, there have been times where Elijah Pritchett, he'll miss a drive in there because, again, he'll roll on his own ankle. It's not very stable right now. He's dealing with a couple strains there. And then he'll come back, going into the second half, going into the next quarter. And he'll play well, but again, they have to tape up that ankle pretty heavily. And it's something that's just not going away. Again, he can play through it. He can play through the pain. He's actually playing pretty good football. But again, if he re-aggravates it, which is a very real possibility, he will miss time. He will not play in the bowl game or might not play against Iowa. But again, he will play versus Penn State to clear that up. Then also Dasan, he's missed a lot of time, particularly these last 3 games with a lower body injury. It's TBD whether or not he'll suit up versus Penn State. He's officially burned his red shirt, so it'd be nice to have him back this year. It really would not be great for his future if he burns red shirt only playing 6 games, right? But again, Dasan expected hopefully to be back versus Penn State. Again, lower body injury. He's played some pretty good steps. He's getting better as the year progresses. But again, we'll see if he suits up versus the Nittany Lions. I do not have an update there. Kwinten Ives should be back versus Penn State. And he's been dealing with a hamstring injury that's not only been lingering this fall ball, but again, it was lingering also in spring ball as well. So Kwinten Ives should be back versus the Nittany Lions going back home to the East Coast. Again, will we utilize him in this offense? Probably not, let's be real, but again, he's somebody who plays a lot of special teams. Again, it's just nice to have all hands on deck, right? It's nice to have everybody healthy, ready to go, and Kwinten Ives definitely helps out this team in multiple areas rather than being in the backfield. And then a couple other guys who I have my eyes out to potentially return very soon. Jamarion Parker is interesting to me because he's missed time since spring, since April. He's not played a single snap, whether that's on the actual football field or in practice. He's been dealing with a knee injury. It was not a tear, it was not an ACL, it was not a meniscus or anything, but again, he's dealing with a knee injury. But they've never ruled him out for the season. They said that at some point, Jamarion Parker will return, whether it's in late November or whether it's going to the bowl game. Now, I'm at the point, Jamarion, where he's not going to play meaningful snaps versus Penn State or Iowa. He probably won't play. But the reason why I bring this up for Jamarion is because I expect him to play in the bowl game. Because again, his knee, while it's not 100%, it should be ready to go by the end of December. And we also know that Emmett Johnson will not play in the bowl game. Okay, guaranteed. Emmett Johnson is going to the draft. Why would he play in the bowl game? Unless the Citrus Bowl. Unless the Citrus Bowl, Emmett will play. But if we're playing like Nashville Bowl, Emmett's not going to, potentially ruin his NFL career, get injured, and play in a bowl game. So we're going to need to have all hands on deck in the running back room. Jamarion Parker, that's going to be his audition, potentially be one of our stars next year. So I think that's what they're eyeing him to return by, is the bowl game, potentially play then, and be our guy maybe going into next year at that spot. So Jamarion Parker, just watch out for him. He's not out for the rest of the season. The staff continues to say that, and I think they're eyeing him to return for the bowl game. And also, I think it's the same deal with Demetrius Bell, where Demetrius missed all season, just like last year. He was supposed to come back for the Michigan State game and then had a hamstring injury, which, again, he's missed the rest of the season because of that as well. So I think they're expecting him to potentially return by the bowl game. They're not going to risk it versus Penn State. They're not going to risk it versus Iowa. Thinking about Demetrius, honestly, he's kind of made of glass a little bit. So it's just, why would we put him out there to be our, fifth string receiver against the Nittany Lions? There's no reason. So another guy who's probably going to be back for the bowl game, especially because we're going to have some players who just won't play in the bowl game. That's the way it goes. Like Dane might not play in the bowl game. We might have injuries. We might have Jacory not play in the bowl game. You never know. So hopefully Demetrius Bell returns by then. I think that's what the staff is expecting to happen. And then also, same one, Jeremiah Jones. He's been off and on all year. He missed some time early in the season versus Houston Christian, versus Michigan. He came back, really played pretty much never because they're trying to preserve his red shirt. But officially, he's only played in one game. He's only played in one game this year. That was against Akron. So he could, I guess, play versus Penn State. Again, he missed last week too due to injury. Again, another lower body injury with Jeremiah Jones. So another guy who, hopefully will return this year. Again, I'm eyeing him to come back by the bowl game because, again, he's so athletic. He's 6'4", he runs a 4.4. He's like Malachi Coleman on steroids, is basically what Jeremiah Jones is. And he can play all over the offense. He can play running back. He can play out wide. He played quarterback in high school. He can play slot. So Jeremiah Jones, hopefully he returns. But another guy who's dealt with injury, who's a freshman. Will be nice to have him in the bowl game, see what he can do, because I'm kind of worried he might transfer away, because that's somebody who, the NIL was definitely a factor there. And he didn't really come here because he loved Nebraska. He kind of came here because we were paying him more than Missouri. That's kind of just the hard truth. So those are a couple injury updates that I wanted to talk about. But other than that, we're pretty much healthy. Like Emmett's banged up, obviously, but he's ready to go. TJ's fine. Obviously, Dylan's out for the rest of the year. I'm trying to think of anything else I'm missing. The guys who went out versus UCLA, Rex Guthrie, he'll be fine, right? Keanu Davis will be fine. So those are pretty much the only injury updates there. All right, let's talk about the Michigan game, because I'm fed up with Michigan because they're making us look awful. Not only barely beating Northwestern on a walk-off field goal at Wrigley Field, but look at these past couple weeks for Michigan. They barely beat Purdue. They barely beat Michigan State. They barely beat Wisconsin. They got blown out by USC. This is honestly what's going to hurt me about Nebraska's season when it's all said and done, is that every single team we lost to is not great. Okay, Michigan is going to end the season unranked. You better believe that. They're going to get blown out by Ohio State. They're probably going to lose the bowl game. Okay, so Michigan is probably going to end the season with 4 losses. They're not going to be ranked at the end of when it's all said and done. USC, who we lost to, might lose today versus Iowa. I don't think they will, but they're definitely going to lose against Oregon. USC is not going to be ranked at the end of the season. And then Minnesota got obliterated yesterday by Oregon. Like, every single loss we had was avoidable this year. And that's why it's just so frustrating. Oregon, we might go 9-3 still. We might have a good record, but man, when you look at this schedule compared to next season, if we could not take advantage of this year's schedule, oh my goodness, next year's, then we don't have any handouts next year against, again, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, Illinois, Washington, Iowa. Okay, if you couldn't take advantage of beating Michigan this year, who clearly is a very flawed football team, who's honestly not that good, I'll just say that. If you couldn't beat them this year, you're gonna have trouble against even Ohio State next year. So Michigan, again, they just constantly make us look bad, because they just barely beat these scrub teams, and yet they dominate us. Like, we only lost them by 3 points, but they should have beat us by probably 17. I'm just fed up with them, man. I was rooting for Northwestern to win, don't get me wrong. I was rooting for the upset, don't get me wrong. But hey, Michigan, it's either you're going to lose this ball game, or you're going to blow them out. If you barely win, that's not a good sign for anybody. Anyways, that's my reaction. But some good news around the Emmett Johnson Heisman campaign, or I shouldn't say Heisman campaign, but this is good news for his All Big Ten campaign. I told you guys yesterday, the only man who's staying, in the way of Emmett Johnson getting all Big Ten first team is Justice Hayes. Because Justice Hayes, when he's been healthy, arguably has been the more productive running back. He's just been banged up. And it was just reported by Gus Johnson at Fox that Justice Hayes will miss the rest of the season for Michigan. So that pretty much takes him out of the running for being all Big Ten first team. Again, he'll probably still get like third team, but now Emmett Johnson pretty much guaranteed to get first team unless he puts up stinking performances versus versus Penn State versus Iowa. So some good news there around Emmett. But obviously wish a speedy recovery for Hayes, because we played against him again. He was a stud. Again, I'd say arguably he's better than Emmett when he's healthy, but again, that might be a hot take. Let me know if you disagree down below. Couple of recruiting nuggets I want to get to. Heinrich, it was officially reported by a couple of recruiting insiders at On3 that he will be visiting Nebraska for the Iowa game. We know we're trying to get a third receiver in this class for the Huskers, so getting somebody who is very, very speedy, runs a 4.4, can go up and get contested, catch balls. Again, he's only about 5'11", right? He's not very big. He's coming out of the East Coast, doesn't have great offers, but again, somebody who has positional versatility, can play special teams very fast, very quick, can make a miss. Nebraska, pretty much a two-horse race to get another receiver commit between him and Nyziah Teasley. Then Dane Bathurst, we talked about yesterday on the channel. I told you guys, expect him to potentially visit for the Iowa game. It was officially reported that he will be here versus the Hawkeyes. So again, pretty much down to Nebraska, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt for his talents. Again, blown up in his senior season, just decommitted from Duke. Watch out for this guy, because again, we need some players on this D line, and he will be visiting versus the Hawkeyes. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but the Florida message boards, Twitter, Instagram, every social media, they've been saying they expect Lane Kiffin to be announced to be their next head coach on Sunday, which is tomorrow. There have been multiple, even like legit beat reporters who are saying, watch your phones on Sunday, Lane Kiffin to Florida, it's official, it's going to happen, he's already signed the dotted line. Like, what in the world? First off, I don't know how that rumor began, but also I can't believe that their actual insiders are saying the exact same thing. First off, I can guarantee you Lane Kiffin's not going to Florida tomorrow. He may go at the end of the season, but why would he leave Ole Miss in the middle of the year in a playoff race to go to Florida, of all schools? I'm of the belief that Lane Kiffin's not going to leave Ole Miss to begin with, because, again, Ole Miss is a very good destination. He's made them good. They have plenty of NIL. Again, there's just no reason why he would leave to go to Florida, but why would they do this in the middle of the year? I don't know. Again, the coaching carousel is crazy, but I think it's just funny because I remember when, obviously we fired Scott Frost and every Nebraska fan, they're calling for Lane Kiffin. People were calling for Lane Kiffin earlier this year when we lost to Minnesota. People wanted Matt Rowe gone. I think every fan base kind of thinks the same way. Whenever you get rid of a coach, Lane Kiffin's going to come. Like, I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to go anywhere. I think he's going to stay put with Ole Miss. But again, this is actually from an Ole Miss message board. This is from an Ole Miss message board. So, like, not only are the Florida fans saying it, the Ole Miss fans think he's gone too. And guess what? Ole Miss plays Florida today. I don't know. It's crazy. It's just crazy, man. Coaching carousel season is one of my favorite times of the year. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Millard South played Westside yesterday in the semifinals for Nebraska high school football. And again, in this ball game, 28 players had D2 offers or more. Again, this is arguably the greatest Nebraska high school football match of all time when it comes to just pure talent. Obviously, Millard South is the greatest high school football team of all time coming out of the state, but Westside's also very good. And if you guys saw the result, Millard South won 62-21. So again, Millard South's absolutely crazy. Again, I know because I went to that high school. I'm still friends with a lot of people on the team. But the reason why I bring this up is because, well, number one, it's obviously terrible for Nebraska high school football. The fact that Millard South, who's the number one team, just absolutely obliterated the number two team. Like, nobody's even close to them. The game was not even competitive after the first quarter. But the reason why I think it's interesting is because, again, Millard South is the best Nebraska high school football team of all time. And Nebraska does not have a single commit on that team. Does that not make anybody else like a little wary, does that not seem problematic to anybody else besides me? Like, Jet Tamala, say what you want about him, he's objectively a better quarterback than Dane. I mean, objectively, like from a film standpoint, from a statistics standpoint, absolutely. Objectively, he is. Again, upside, you can argue that Dayton has a higher upside, but again, Nebraska did not even ever pursue Jet. They never offered him a scholarship, and now he's going to Alabama. So that was interesting. Marion Jackson going over to Iowa State. You got Isaac Jensen, who's a really good tight end, who I think should be a 4-star, going over to Missouri, right? I mean, there's just a bunch of productive players who are going nationwide. And I know a lot of Nebraska fans will make the argument, they'll say, well, we're going after quality over quantity in the state of Nebraska. You're not wrong, but if we were doing that, we wouldn't have already taken the linebacker that we did in this class, because that's not quality over quantity. We wouldn't have took the offensive lineman we took in the class 27. Like, those are fine prospects, but if you're going to take those guys, why are we not taking the other guys? I don't know, right? But I just thought it's kind of sad because again, literally the greatest Nebraska high school football team of all time is not close. Nebraska is literally not going after a single player. And all those guys, I went to that high school. I know that Nebraska's not perceived very well in that high school. I know that for a fact. Okay, I know there's a couple players who Nebraska wanted from Middle South, okay, who might be on the screen right now, who never considered us because, simply put, Nebraska, just they did not build good relationships inside that high school, in West Side or Middle South. So, anyways, I just thought I'd bring it up, obviously, but definitely an interesting game yesterday. And also, look who's in attendance. Our boys. Isaiah Mosey, Jeremiah Jones, Dasan was there, Caleb Benning, Murray Sanders was there. But also, look at this guy right on the right-hand side. Do you recognize him? Jaylen Lloyd, Nebraska football legend, one of the greatest Nebraska football receivers of all time. I'm just kidding. But you guys know me. I love Jaylen Lloyd. Just entered the transfer portal. I wouldn't be mad if there was a reunion. It's not going to happen, but he was there attending because he went to West Side again, talking with Isaiah Mosey right there, who's now a Nebraska running back. Also, Matt Rhule was at Buford High School yesterday. It was not reported by the media, but I told you guys, we got subscribers everywhere. We got subscribers in Africa. We got subscribers in the Philippines, Japan. And one of my subscribers was actually at this game in Georgia, and he let me know that Matt Rhule pulled up. He actually got a picture with Matt Rhule. Shout out to my man, EB. So anyways, Matt Rhule was there attending Dayton Raiola's game. He's been to like 3 or 4 Dayton's game this year. He's been to more Dayton games than literally any other prospect, which makes me think. I already told you guys, like, the Raiola family has like a stranglehold over this university, but it's interesting that he's been to more Dayton games than, like, even Trey Taylor. Like, I think he's only been to 1 Trey game. I don't know. Like, I think Dayton's having a really good season. Like, he's impressing a lot of people. We talked about it earlier today in our recruiting update, but it's definitely interesting. I don't know. I don't want to read in between the lines here, but I do think Dane could be a productive quarterback, but he's just he's going to be a developmental guy. Like, he's not going to play within the first 2-3 years here, that's for sure. But Matt Rhule, definitely, he just keeps attending his games over and over again. I don't know, maybe again. I think honestly, the coaching staff's higher on him than the majority of the fan base and the recruiting insiders as well. And also should be mentioned, Dayton threw for 5 touchdowns and then did not play in the fourth quarter because they were blowing out the opposing team. All right, the other games that we need to talk about from earlier today, again, the 11 o'clock games just wrapped up. Last night, Minnesota got obliterated by Oregon. I'm telling you guys, that loss is just looking worse and worse. I told you guys this is going to happen. Like, Minnesota's not a good team, but Nebraska was not ready to play. And every single year, Nebraska loses at least one game they shouldn't. That loss is going to sting. It's going to sting for the entire offseason because we should have not lost the game. And if we didn't lose that game, we won that game, we could have probably still been in playoff talks. Unacceptable. Navy beat USF. I told you guys yesterday, if you guys wanted to see a good football game, turn on this one on ESPN2, and it was phenomenal. It lived up to the hype. And the reason why I bring this up too, Navy now, if they win out, they will make the college football playoffs. Because you have to have at least one group of 4 team, one group of 5 team to make it. And really, the team that's going to make it in the playoffs is going to be whoever wins the American, which is the conference that Navy's in. So they just beat South Florida, which was the betting favorite. They're going to play Memphis on Thanksgiving. They might win that game. Then they play Army, and then they'll play in the AAC the conference championship game. If they win out, they will be in the playoffs. I think that's pretty cool. Now they're going to get absolutely obliterated in the playoffs. Don't get me wrong, but any group of 5 teams can get obliterated. I would rather see Navy in there than anybody else. So I thought that was a pretty good game earlier today. I was watching that one. A&M came back from 30-3 to defeat South Carolina. They got to fire Shane Beamer on the spot, man. They got to fire him on the spot. How do you give up a 27-point lead? And I get Texas A&M is super talented, but man, I don't know. I think Texas A&M is incredibly talented, but I think they're going to be a first-round exit in the playoffs this year. Because again, they're still a long ways away. You saw that. They barely scraped by versus South Carolina. They barely scraped by, going into a couple of these other games. Arkansas, right? Auburn in there. They barely played pretty much anybody good this year. So, but I thought that was out. I mean, come on, South Carolina. You got to win that ball game. And then last but not least, Indiana beat Wisconsin, absolutely obliterated them, blew them out. Nothing new there. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts down below about everything. Hey, if you made this far, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go grad, go Met Roll, and I'll see you in the next one.